Good morning. Good morning from this peaceful town on a Sunday morning called San Benedetto. And actually, that's where the story begins. 30, 20, 24 years ago, I was running a quite insane lifestyle where I would work for 8 years, every single day, having literally just Sunday off. I would wake up at 5 a.m. I would open my mom's shop at 6, and I would leave the shop at around 7:20, 7:30 to go to work in a factory from 8 to 5 p.m. I would leave, arriving home around 5:30, 5:40. 6:30 I would be back in the shop, and 8 p.m. I would close the shop 6 days a week. 2 Sundays a month, working only half day. 2 Sundays a month off. Done this life for 8 years. During quiet time in the shop, I would read a lot, and especially about travels book. I always loved traveling, and I always been going holiday traveling within Europe, within Italy, but I reached a point where I didn't want to do that kind of life anymore. I was fed up. That was not how I envisioned my future, and I hated my town. I hated and everything that happened to me until that point. I wanted to just run away, and circumstances helped me. We sold the shop and I left. And I already told these stories many times. I told this story many times about this friend from high school that I met here in Madrid during New Year Eve, and then I met him again in Amsterdam the year after, and 1 year later I met him in town. I mean, listen, we barely met in town. Barely. Probably like I didn't even remember I ever met him after high school. Plus he lived in a neighboring town, so he would not really hanging out around here often. So, but anyway, we met one more time. So 3 times our lives came across. And the year after Amsterdam, I met him in town, and he tells me that he went into Australia. He was working in a farm, and he ended up working for an Italian man that, look what he was, my uncle, my father's cousin, an uncle I never knew I had. I never knew that I had an uncle in Australia. So he was the reason why I decided to move to Bundaberg to work my 3-month farming job, to renew my working holiday. And because his farm and house was in the middle of nowhere, he placed me in a hostel that would take me, to work to the farms, including his farm, and back to the hostel. And because I was in this hostel that I met, as I always say, one of my guardian angels, Kaori, that basically transformed my journey. And she transformed my journey in this beautiful journey that have been till now, 17 years later. Obviously there have been beautiful times, struggles, and then a beautiful time again, but definitely a life that have been worth to live for. So she was one of the most important people I met, and life circumstances decided that we were supposed to meet. I now know. But the story is not about synchronicities, but it's about my love for Christian music, even if I'm not Christian myself. So what happened? How that happened? How I ended up become a lover of Christian music? It happened because of one of my biggest weakness, love for free food. So I was in the hostel in a Sunday morning, and then a group of Christians, faithful, arrived and tried to recruit new faithfuls with using as excuse and as a tool and as a gift free food, obviously after the service. So I was in Bundaberg, supposed to be for 3 months, ended up staying for almost 1 year. And Bundaberg is a relatively small farming town where no really much happenings, and so decided that it wouldn't be a bad idea not to go to the service and then get the free food at the hand. So what I didn't know is that Christian service has nothing to do with how. So I grew up in Italy as a Catholic. Majority of people is Catholic. Now it's changing, and the Catholic faith, the Catholic service, it's the most boring, one of the most boring service you could even imagine. The service is boring. The priests are boring. The music is boring. Everything they do and say it's boring. So, ending up, now, if you're familiar with the Christian faith and the Christian's service, it's much more liberal. So, like priests can get married, they can, they can do the service in whatever. Why they call it pastors, are not called priests. So they can dress in whatever way they want. They can get married, they have kids. Like churches can be anywhere. You don't need to have a particular building. It can be done everything. And the music is literally like pop music, rock music, but obviously with the lyrics that is about Jesus, or try to express their love for Jesus through the music, but through a very cool and enjoyable music. So I was shocked. I was shocked because I was like, I never thought that something like that was possible, or there was people that were preaching in this way, or they would believe Jesus in this way. So for me it was like something like a shock, a cultural shock. But the music, I remember the music to be wonderful. I really enjoy it. Like I really enjoy to listen to it, and it would touch my soul. I could really feel the emotions that the music they would try to transmit. So I began to go almost every Sunday, and for almost 1 year. So obviously the main reason was is a train passing by. So obviously the reason was because the food at the end of the service and the music. But the time arrived for me to leave. At the time I was with Kaori, and we decided to move to Perth. So I go to my last service, and waiting to go and eat my last meal. Something interesting happened. The pastor called my name. Alessandro, come to the stage. I was like, wow, what's going on here? How is now my name, and why he wants me on the stage? I was a bit nervous. There was quite a few people in the church, and so I go, and it was like, oh hi. It's like, well, Alex, we know you're leaving. I mean, this guy was a Kiwi guy. It was the pastor. He had tattoo. Like, he was a really cool dude. And I say, look, we are really happy, that you have been here all the time. You're the only big picker that keep coming back every Sunday. So please tell us what made you coming back. So now I can't remember clearly what I said, but it was a lie. I couldn't tell them, oh, I'm just coming back for the music and the free food. So I think I said something like, oh, I was converted, and that the music, really touched my soul, and I really loved the people and the place. It was a lie, but a lie that will make him happy and will make everybody happy. So I was about to leave the stage when he tells me, look, we were very happy to have you here. We want to give you a gift. And they give me the best of Hillsongs United songs for 2005. Oh my God, that was one of my most beautiful gifts. The music from this album was just stunning, and they have been the soundtrack for all my 17 years. And it was just fascinating how the music, oh look there, there's the light coming from behind, that I think really match the story that I'm talking about. It, I'm gonna keep it. It's so cool. So the music, since then, in every country I lived, I would join every now and then Christian services, for the music, and it's always been fascinating to trying to explain to those Christian faithful, like, why I was there. Like, not because I believe in Jesus or I'm a Christian, but because I love the music, and I always, could see and notice that there, confusion. It's been, it's a beautiful music, and is, it have been like literally my life soundtrack in all those years, and it's a beautiful memory, the way I ended up, in the first place in the church in Bundaberg, how I discovered the music, how I discovered this, religion. That inevitably started to crack my mind, and how people beliefs can be so varied and fascinating, isn't it? I mean, it comes all to humans starting to believe something and spreading that belief to others, and that I don't agree with. I mean, you can believe in something, you can share what you believe, you don't need it to convince people about it. So it's a bit, it's like controversial, I can say, like obviously if they didn't come to get me, try to get us to their church, obviously with the intent to convert us, I would never discover the music. But it's even true that the fact that I don't like the fact that because they think that what they believe is true, they try to convince us or me that that their belief is the real belief, the only beliefs. I don't like that. I mean, obviously, I have my life beliefs, or anyway, things that I do like to believe. I do share my stories, my beliefs, and all the rest. And I'm not trying to convince people. I'm just sharing my journey. Then people, makes their own decisions what want to do with that. I don't think it's right. Like if it's true for me, if it's real for me, I don't think that I have to. I do have the right to tell people that it's real for everyone. Yeah, it's true. I like to believe that everybody has a unique journey and everybody experiences different things. So reality is different for each of us. But still, I don't think it's the right things to going out there converting to what you think is the right things. So it was a beautiful memory. It's a memory that I still hold now. A memory I could share, and it was just wonderful. I mean, if I think about it, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are some people that enjoy to every day wake up in the morning, go in a factory, putting like electronic components on what do they call it, like sort of like plate or whatever, for 8 hours, going back home and repeat for the rest of their life. There are those people, like there are people that enjoy wake up in the morning, every morning, go to the office, go back home and repeat for the rest of their life. So I'm not here to say that they're wrong, I'm right, but it couldn't work for me. And so for me now, after all those adventures that I had in the last 17 years, the country I visit, the country I lived in, and all the amazing mystical experience, spiritual experience, the people I met, like, it's priceless. Like thinking about myself by now, waking up in the morning to go in a factory, repeating the same task for 8 hours, for 23 years. It wouldn't work for me. So it's been wonderful what it's been my journey. And circumstances obviously push me to follow my call. So still now, obviously I'm more aware now of those circumstances and why they are happening. So I feel we can write our own book with our emotions. And I think it's really important that, again, it's true in my journey, take what resonates, leave the rest. The emotions are the most strong and powerful energy and that you can ever have, and needs to be kept high, because it's what your emotions that you put out in the universe now is what's going to create what comes next. And in my journey, I know to be true, and every time I was able to put into practice what I'm talking about, I could see the miracles happening. So it's been a wonderful 17 years, and I'm so grateful for all that happened, the good and the bad. Have a wonderful Sunday.